Welcome to Season 1 of our brand new podcast, Hey Emma, highlighting the issues of being a teenager.
We'll focus on the similarities and differences in the way we think about a variety of situations in our lives.
Join us on this journey as hopefully it'll be interesting, humorous, and eye-opening to see how a teenage girl thinks today and how her dad supports, opposes, and sometimes changes his mind.
Hey, Emma.
Hey, Dad.
Today, we're going to cover our thoughts about the most terrifying step for a teenager's parents. It causes anxiety, stress, fear, and a host of other emotions. It also causes insurance rates to skyrocket.
It's called driver's ed.
Hey, Emma.
Hi.
How's it going today?
Good.
Good. I know that you've started something pretty new in your life. You want to talk about it?
Did. Okay.
So talk about it.
Okay, so I recently started, this is my second week into it out of 4 weeks of driver's education.
It's darn scary from my perspective, that's for sure.
Well, it's scary from my perspective, too.
So why is it scary for your perspective?
Well, I think it's scary because it's something new that I haven't had any experience with. I feel like when I'm driving, You're
really struggling to talk about this.
Yeah.
What are you holding back? You're holding back something.
I don't know. I really want to be able to control the car, and I feel like it's more difficult to do that than I thought. My original fear of going into it was that I wouldn't be able to control the car and that I would just end up not being very good at driving. But now that I'm kind of getting used to it, it's not as bad, but I'm still, like, when I'm driving, I'm very attentive. I'm straight up in my chair, and I have both of my hands exactly attended to, and I'm not moving. It's just, I'm trying to focus on everything because it's still so new to me.
Yeah, it's a lot to learn, that's for sure. What do you think is your biggest fear about not being able to control the car? Because, like, you always have a brake pedal.
I know, but it's just, I really like controlling things, so just the fact that...
Oh, that you do.
That,
yes, you do.
I wouldn't be able to control that car as much. I mean, so far I'm seeming to do pretty good because I am starting to get the feel for the car, but I was first scared because I wouldn't even want to go out of the driveway or out of the parking lot to drive because I was so worried that... And I was also afraid of other cars because when I would see driving and then I would feel like a car is coming right at me even though it's in the other lane. But
yeah, that is one thing that you always have to keep in mind is you cannot control what the other cars are doing, and you have no idea what they're doing. You don't know if they're distracted. You don't know if they're on their phone. You don't know whatever the situation may be. That you can't control them. So you have to be alert to what they're, not necessarily what they're doing, but you have to be alert to the fact that there's another car there.
Yeah. And then I also feel like I might run into them. I don't know. But then you tell me, don't look at what you are about to run into or else you'll run into it.
This is true.
Look away from what you're trying to run in or what you're going to run into, and then they're less likely to run into it.
You want to look where you want the car to go. So if you're in a situation like, especially up here in the north where there's a chance you could be driving on ice, if you lose control of the car on ice, you really want to be focusing your mind, your attention on where you want that car to go, not on where you don't want it to go. So if you are close to a telephone pole, you don't want to be staring at that telephone pole. You want to be staring away from the telephone pole so that you will naturally tend to steer away from the telephone pole. You're going to steer where your attention is. So if you're staring at that telephone pole saying, don't hit the telephone pole, don't hit the telephone pole, don't hit the telephone pole, you're going to hit the telephone pole.
Yeah.
So if you're focusing away from the telephone pole, then you will tend to, and again, it's not 100%, but it certainly increases your probability of steering away from it if you're focused away from it.
Yeah, and I think going off of that, something that I'm kind of concerned about actually for having driver's ed in the summer is that you don't get those kind of many weather experiences because you're not in those icy conditions and those rainy conditions because it's the summer. It's going to be sunny all the time and barely any clouds in the sky. So it's not, there's going to be no overcast. There's going to be no rain. There's going to be no snow. So it's you don't get to learn from the teachers those experiences until, well, you just don't. You can't. You're going to have to learn from your parents.
What makes you think that the weather's going to be perfect all summer long?
Well, I mean, yeah.
We're in Illinois.
I know,
it's
but
going to
it's
change.
Not, at least it's not going to snow. I mean, snow is one of the hardest things to drive in because you could lose control at any second, or if you press the gas too hard, your wheels will just spin without you going anywhere in it.
You know what? You have to have your permit for 9 months before you can get your license here in this state. So you're going to get a chance to drive on icy, snowy weather.
Yeah, I know, but the teachers aren't going to be there to teach me how to
Well,
drive.
But most of your driving time is with your parents anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, this is state law. You've got to get at least 50 hours in with your parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your teachers, you don't get that much. I mean, from a hours perspective, you don't get that much time with your teachers.
But I don't know. I mean, so far I felt more comfortable with the teachers than with the driving with the parent. I don't know if it's because they have more control over the car than the parents do, because they have their own brake and their own rear view mirror, and they're like looking at everything you do. When it's a parent, they're just like, oh yeah, good job, yeah, you.
There's so many other dynamics there with your parents. I mean, you've got all this history and all this emotion, and it's just a very different environment. It would be like having one of your parents be your teacher at school. I mean, it's going to be awkward. It just, no matter what the situation is, when you're trying to learn from your parents, it's going to be different than if you're trying to learn from a professional.
I feel much better being with a professional than with a parent.
I'm sure. Now, you were hesitant to even get your driver's license. Talk about some of the reasons that you were really hesitant to go through the process.
I didn't think I was ready for it. Maybe there was a part of me that didn't want to grow up and have that responsibility, and you think it's freedom, but I just see it as a stressor in my life because it sounded harder than so far it was going to be. I mean, it's still pretty hard, but it's not as terrifying as I thought it was going to be. When I see you guys do it so easily and so laid back, and I thought I was never going to get to that point, and so far I haven't gotten to that point, but
yeah, thank goodness. You've only been on the road for 2 weeks.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought I wasn't going to be able to do nearly as well, or I wasn't ready for it completely.
But it comes with experience. All that, anything that's difficult to do your expertise comes with experience. I've had many, many years on the road, obviously, and I've had many, many accidents too. That's going to come too. I mean, they say everybody has one major accident in their lifetime. I've had several major and many minor accidents. One, because I was a stupid driver when I was young. You seem to be very much more careful than I was, but I learned to drive watching the Dukes of Hazzard. I loved watching the Dukes of Hazzard, and I couldn't wait to get behind the wheel so that I could drive just like they did on the Dukes of Hazzard. And I did. I mean, power slides, and I did a lot of very, very foolish things in my car. So, yeah. But that too gave me a lot of driving experience and a lot of ways to be able to handle a car that you're pushing the edge of control in the car, and it will break free and get out of control, and then you learn how to recover when it gets out of control. And so those are all great learning experiences, but also I damaged a lot of cars too. So
are you saying that as long as I'm careful, I should be taking your car out and doing all those weird
Definitely
stunts?
Not. You wait till you get your own car, and then you can smash it up.
Oh.
And your own car insurance.
What? No, thanks. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll just stick to driving your car very carefully. And
there you go. I like that. That's good. So you were talking about some of the differences between driving my car and Mom's car.
Oh, yeah. I like Mom's car better. I don't know. It's a smaller car, and I prefer the driver's ed one because it's a low on the ground car. I prefer that one way better than both of yours because I feel like I have more control in it, and it's easier to handle. I mean, I feel like they should be teaching us how to do it in multiple different cars, even though the smaller ones are easier to handle. But I guess that's what the parents are supposed to do because they usually have bigger cars.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen your driver's training cars. They are definitely regular sedans.
Yeah.
Whereas My car is it's a big minivan, with kind of an oxymoron there, right? A big minivan, and Mom's is an SUV, so they're larger cars, definitely. Mine, it drives like you're driving a wet sponge. It's really sloshy and comfortable and soft. It's not a great car for learning how to drive on because of that. Mom's car is a little more confident and firm. The suspension is more firm, and it's designed a little more for off-road. Not a lot, but a little more.
Yeah, I do prefer to drive her car better, I think.
And let me clarify, I don't like driving the minivan. I would much rather have a Porsche, but
What?
I have to fit, the family of 5 in it, so I have a minivan.
I hope your dreams come true someday.
Oh, they will.
When you're like 80 years old and we're all out of the house, and then you can just be driving down the street in your Porsche.
I'm going to go in my walker out to the Porsche.
And you're out of
throw the walker in the back and tear off down the street.
And then your dentures will be falling.
That's right, yeah.
Open
my mouth, my dentures go flying out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So what else do you want to cover about driver's training? What advice would you give other people who are very hesitant? Thinking about our best babysitter, too, who is now, second year in college and still is not driving?
My friend's mom is now starting to make her take lessons with her, so she's just now starting to drive, and she's still very hesitant about it. I think advice I would give is start off where you're comfortable and go slow, because that's how I got used to driving in the car, was by starting off just in an empty parking lot and going as slow as I can so that I can take my time to get the feeling for the car, so that it's not as scary when you actually go out into the streets. And now I'm going out into the streets, so that was a big step for me, because I didn't want to do that at all when I was starting in my first week of getting my permit. And
I wouldn't have wanted you out on the street, based on you just getting used to the car. It was that first time that we went out to that parking lot. It was amazing to see the difference between my comfort level with the car and your comfort level with the car, and the way you handle the car, and all the curbs that you hit and all the grass that you drove over and all those different things. It's part of the learning curve, and realizing what it takes to handle a car, to be able to get it to turn, to get it to go straight, to get it to stop, to get it to accelerate. It was funny to watch, at the same time thinking, oh my gosh, what is she doing to my car?
Yeah. I think another thing would be, I got my permit just less than a week before I was supposed to start, and so I think my advice would be to get it a little earlier than when your driver's education starts, because then the more time you have practicing before you go have your first behind the wheel, then the more comfortable you'll feel, because the first behind the wheel, they have you going in neighborhoods and onto the big streets already, even though it's your first time, and they just jump you right into it because they expect you to already have a lot of experience. So if you want to get all of your worries out of the way, I suggest going and doing that before you start driver's ed.
Yeah. So, good advice.
Yeah.
Well, I hope this episode has helped someone on their journey through driver's ed. Feel free to comment on our website, growingwithgirls.com.
Bye.
See you later.
If you like this podcast, please click the like button so more people can find our podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so you can get updates when the latest episode drops. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can email us at dad@growingwithgirls.com. And of course, more information can be found at our website, growingwithgirls.com. Speak at you next time! Okay, sorry. I have to get ready. To make sure I was prepared. Jeez, okay, start over.
Testing. 1, 2. Testing.
Fish
1,
heads,
2.
Fish heads, roly-poly fish heads, fish heads, eat them up. Yum!